Who knows this t-shirt? Yeah. Vote for Pedro, Napoleon Dynamite, only one of the greatest movies ever. Who knows this t-shirt? Yep, Rolling Stones. But who's this guy? Che Guevara, there we go. T-shirts can become very iconic and are essential pieces of clothing that everyone wears. Hi, my name is Szabo, and today I'm going to be talking about BizzR threads and the process of starting a t-shirt business. Now, why did I choose this topic? Was it for the fame? No. For the glory? Oh, of course not. But maybe the riches? No. Who do you think I am? I chose this topic for 3 honest and heartfelt reasons. Number 1, I want to get better at drawing through making the designs. Number 2, I want to learn about the business world and what running a business really entails. And number 3, I want to figure out if being an entrepreneur would be a good job in the future, specifically an original art t-shirt business. Contents. This presentation is going to be divided into 4 main parts. Getting ready, well, you'll learn about the initial steps I took, and I will take you through the process of buying my printer. Then I will share my product development plan and describe how I made the designs. And then next I'll be talking about creating awareness for my business and then sales. All right, before we start, let's get into the backstory a little bit. I've been drawing for a while, specifically monsters. From a very early age, I got hooked on drawing monsters from my imaginations. Things like these. Yikes. From there, I went to a fairly severe doodle phase where I'd only draw doodles like these. At one point, I got bored of drawing those and wanted to get better at technically drawing, and where I am right now is kind of a blend between comic, doodles, and kind of street art. There's a drawing from my mom. Yeah, stuff like that. Getting ready. Last summer, I decided to put my drawings onto t-shirts and start a t-shirt business. I did some research to decide whether I want to get a company to print my t-shirts or buy my own printer or do it myself. Before I could even answer this question, I had to figure out how t-shirts are even printed. There are many ways to get graphics printed onto t-shirts, and several different printers do the trick. Screen printing, also known as silk screen, is the most common type of printing method for some good reasons. It is cheap to print shirts in bulk because once you make a stencil, you can use it over and over. The colors come out very vibrant, and once the shirt's printed, it's very durable. However, it's a long process, and that I won't bore you with right now, but a big downside is that you can only use about 8 colors max, because for each stencil you need for each color you need a new stencil. DTG, another common way of printing, is direct to garment. This is a lot different from screen printing in the sense that it's not you doing the work, but a printer. DTG printers use digital printers to spray water-based ink onto a fabric. First, a pre-treatment solution is applied to help the ink bond with the fabric, and then you could dry the ink with a heat press after. DTG is very bright colors, it's durable when done correctly, and it's kind of fast. It's like 15 minutes to print a shirt. More printers. There are many more printers and types of printers to ways to print a design, such as heat transfers, DTF, and dye sublimation. But I decided after doing some research that DTG was the best option for my designs, and that possibly purchasing a printer would make the most profits. Oh, how I was so silly back then. Facebook Marketplace. Buying a DTG printer costs not 1, not 2, not 3, not even 4, but at least $10,000 at its cheapest price. Now that is a lot of money. Money that I do not have. So that is where Facebook Marketplace comes in. Let me tell you, Facebook is great for buying anything. Skis, phones, t-shirt printers, I bought them all on here. So naturally, the quest for starting a t-shirt business was on here. After days, weeks, what felt like years of heartfelt strolling through Facebook Marketplace, my dad and I stumbled across a broken DTG printer for only $1,500. Now this is not bad, but the only problem was it was in Edmonton. After talking to a man named Carmen, we made a deal. We arranged a deal to have him drive it down to Hope and pick it up there, which would cost another $700 for delivery, which comes to $2,200. On October 9th, I became the proud owner of a broken DTG for $2,200. Not too bad. This is where I can start the infamous debt. Ever heard of that riddle, what goes up but doesn't come down? It's my debt. Meet my printer. Ho ho! Isn't she a beauty? Fixing the printer. So now I had to fix the broken DTG printer. With the help of my dad and his construction skills, First, I had to order new parts though, starting with print heads, ink, a heat press, and cleaning supplies. Make that $3,400. There are a whole bunch of things wrong with the printer. So there's a list of what we did. It took 30 hours and it was just great. The only thing left to do once the printer was working was to test it. And of course, the first ever test print had to be a design I made of Cosmo Kramer on Photoshop. Giddy up. Here it is. This wasn't bad for a first ever print, however, there's a bunch of feathering and the color's supposed to be blue. So it was pretty bad. Enough about printers for now, however you'll hear about them again later. Lucky you, you get to learn more about printers. Now that I have my printer, I had to learn how to actually start a business. And what better person to talk to than my advisor, Woody. It was Take Your Kid to Work Day, and I was off to Lululemon with Woody and his son, Layden. Lululemon, secret rooms where they make fabrics, meetings where they talk about product placement on shelves for hours. Who knew that where the product is placed can make or break a sale? And a lot of psychology actually goes into the layout of a store. And state-of-the-art water dispensers, this business is more than meets the eye. Did you know that 80% of shirts that people buy are black and white, and color is placed as a decoy, reel them in to look at the color, and then they buy black? I learned this from my advisor, Woody. And I would later find out how true this is. Oh, that was a bit delayed. 3 pillars. Woody introduced me to the 3 pillars of a clothing business, which are product, awareness, and sales. The first pillar is product. I'm not just talking about what the designs look like. First, you have to go through a stage of narrowing down your product, who's going to buy the shirt, and do I have the permission to even do this? Woody introduced me to the concept of permission, and permission is asking the question, could you pull it off, and people would buy it. An example of that I can think is when Jolly Ranchers started to make gummies. I mean, come on, like that does not work. Woody encouraged me to make a product development plan. A product development plan is where I start to analyze other t-shirts to decipher what I wanted my designs to be. What is the concept for the shirt and who's interested in buying it? Now, Bowen Island in the summer is just riddled with tourists. So I knew if I wanted to actually make some money off of this project, I needed to make Bowen Island designs. Product architecture. The product architecture is a pyramid with 3 levels. The first level is what pays the bills, the mid-range, and the pinnacle. The first level is the shirts that will make the most money from your selected consumer group. Like I said before, I'm going for Bowen tourists. The first shirt I came up with to fit the bottom floor was the Bowen silhouette shirt. This type of shirt is popular because some people don't want a detailed design. They just want something that blends with the crowd while still giving them a token to remember Bowen by. Shirts like these. Kind of one color silhouette type things. The design could be a silhouette of an eagle, a tree, a whale, anything that resembles Bowen really. The second shirt on the bottom floor of the pyramid is the vintage Bowen location. Some inspiration includes these old national park posters. And these t-shirts. Kind of more colors and generally more detailed. The second floor, the mid-range. Now we head on to the second floor of the product pyramid. This is where the shirts become more expensive to make because the designs take longer to make and there's more colors. The second floor designs appeal to a more selected group of people. I'm going to have 2 shirts on this floor. Slogan t-shirt. The first shirt on the second floor is a catchy slogan design. At the time I was thinking, still want to swim, Bowen Island with a weird creepy looking sea creature. Or, still want to hike with a Sasquatch perusing through the forest of Bowen. These shirts are targeted to still appeal to tourists, but are more distinctive and flashy. The top floor. The final floor of this nifty pyramid are designs that appeal to a much smaller audience, meaning less sales and fewer designs. These designs could include collaborations, customs, limited editions, anything that you make less of. For me, these are the designs that I want my future business to be based off of because I like drawing these the most. I call them my signature shirts. Signature. Another design, well, the top design of the initial launch is the signature shirt. This would be in my own style from a skiing shirt or just a random character. Vans has a nice array of these shirts that I like. Okay, now that you know kind of the product development, let's go into how I actually made the designs. Now you may be wondering, how do I even make the designs? Well, first I pencil it on paper, Then I take my Micron pens, ink it out, and then color it with some alcohol-based Ohuhu markers. And if I'm feeling spicy at the end, maybe I'll add a little Posca to add some texture or graffiti things. And then I bring the design into Photoshop and tweak it a little bit there. Ski the moon. Anyways, I kicked the start of the product line by drawing one of the top floor designs. If you don't already, I really like to ski, so obviously the design had to be based on skiing. A while back I drew a picture called Ski the Moon with a guy standing on the moon. Here it is. That's rough. I actually ironed this onto a shirt almost 2 years ago, and now little old Leo knew he had to make a redesign. Alright, so here's the version I drew on paper, and then I brought it into Photoshop and I made many changes, starting with getting rid of the background, adding a moon to the background because it is Ski the Moon, changing the color of the helmet's window, getting rid of the old writing, adding new writing, making the ski longer at the front, because nobody skis with their bindings up there unless you're like some cross-country skier. Made the off-road driving brighter and finally added a slight filter just to touch things up, which in the end looks like this. This whole process of drawing it probably took about 15 to 20 hours, including the planning of it. The Photoshop process probably took around another 15 to 20 hours. I started to get a lot faster with Photoshop, but since it was the beginning, it was a slow process. Testing Ski the Moon. With the printer running and a design ready, the only thing left to do was print a couple shirts. So I printed the first ever successful print on a white shirt of Ski the Moon. It's so-so, the colors were working decently. Then I pre-treated a black shirt with a spray bottle because my pre-treatment machine was still not working, and printed the first ever black shirt, which was all right, but the colors were still not bright enough. After Ski the Moon, I pumped out 2 Bowen designs, starting with Bowen Island, Once in a Blue Moon, which is a second floor catchy slogan graphic. This graphic was made entirely on Photoshop, starting with taking a picture of a moon, putting a filter on it, and then adding the Bowen bird, a heron, and also with a filter, and then add the writing. Then I made a Bowen silhouette graphic, which is a first floor pays the bills type of thing. I made this by taking a photo of the tree at the Cape, and then Photoshop worked its magic. My mom suggested we should go to Cape Roger because the light was just great. So when we got there, it was great. The light was great. And I took some photos for my vintage design. Here are a couple. Then, once I got back, I quickly started to work on it in Photoshop. This design only took roughly an hour to do. All I had to do was pop a filter on it again, adjust the colors, add the writing, and cut the shape out. Initially, the shape was this. However, I wasn't a big fan of it, so I ended up cutting it into a half circle. And changed the colors a little, which I think is better. Then I printed a couple of these tests, but it was pretty bad because the pre-treatment was not applied properly. Yeah. Alright. I was teasing the Still Wanna Swim design before in the product development, so it'd been on my mind for a while, since late September. As usual, I planned out the drawing, thinking about a sea monster, like a hand reaching out of the waters of Howe Sound, or a massive octopus. I ended up drawing a half-human, hacked-off octopus wearing an old-school diving suit with seaweed all over them, which is like this. Then, like usual, threw that bad boy into Photoshop and got this. I then printed 3 shirts, testing it, which are getting better each time. There's the first one, super smudged. Yeah. Board the Moon. If you know anything about me, you would know that I don't really like snowboarding, or snowboarders for that matter. Sorry to all the snowboarders in the room. So I wasn't planning on making a Board the Moon. However, Alex convinced me that it would make more sales and get you more money. Classic snowboarder talk. So finally, I agreed on it. By now, you should know what happens. First, I do tests like these to think about what I want to draw. Then I draw it. There's halfway through the color. There's the full color. Then I bring it into Photoshop and edit it. So there's before Photoshop. In Photoshop, I got rid of the background, changed the color of the tube, changed the contrast, saturation, and levels, changed the color of the board, added a slight filter to the image, added the mood in the background, and finally added the writing to the image. The whole process, including drawing, took around 30 hours to do. Here's the final design. Yeah. I then did some test prints again and gave a free shirt away to Alex as long as he promoted BizzR, but more on that later. Alex got the one on the right there. Okay, so by now I had a couple of designs, but what I didn't have was a logo. Now what makes an iconic logo? Is it something that's easy to remember, something that's not too complicated, nice and simplistic? Maybe something that can be put in multiple colors. Logos like Stussy or Stuzy, however you say it. Jordan, Nike, Island, sorry about that. New Balance, you get the point. When I first started thinking about a name for my business, I came up with Leo, my name. The logo was to be a lion, and it's kind of easy to spell, to remember, so on. It's not bad. I was pretty set on this back in November and December, and spent a while making lockup logos, and I had something kind of set. But come middle of January, and I wasn't in love with it, which is a bad thing, because the logo's got to be one of the most important things of a business, because it becomes iconic. So it couldn't be Leo and the Lion. That's kind of a good name, actually. All right, so I started the new logo quest by just thinking of cool words. I mean, there are very few words that are just fun to say. Mississippi, like Mississippi, that's cool. Rancid, capiche, yeah, they're all cool. And BizzR came across my mind almost immediately. Then I thought BizzR, and I quite like this. So I got to seeing how it would look as a logo. And I did a couple pages of mock-ups. There's a couple, kind of graffiti. In the end, I got something that kind of looked like this. And then I went up to my parents to see what they thought, but they had other ideas on what they thought about it. Hello, Mother. May I ask you a sincere question, please? As the kind son that I am. Sure, son, I always love it when you ask me questions. And by the way, you're looking extremely intelligent and handsome today. Thanks, Mom. How would you say this? Bizpo. Hey, Pops, word, read it. I don't know, Plizzo, and my brother didn't even get one letter. I guess he should be able to read the logo, so I started over. My mom suggested I should do something less graffiti and kind of a blend between cursive and graffiti. So with that in mind, I did a couple pages to see what I liked, and then I got something that looked like that. I quite liked this. I thought it was easy to read, sort of. It was kind of catchy and it looked cool. And then I brought it into Photoshop, changed it a little, and made a couple different colors. Yeah. Then I decided, like Nike and the Swerve, I needed like a shape or something to go with the logo. I thought, what's BizzR? A spiral, of course. So I took a spiral, put it in Photoshop, and warped it a little. And there's the other thing. Yeah. Okay, so the first ever launch of BizzR is done. The product is done. Starting with Ski the Moon, Board the Moon, Still Want to Swim, Once in a Blue Moon, The Cape, Bow and Silhouette. Now that all the product was done for the first ever launch of BizzR, the next step in the process was creating awareness. Remember those good old pillars? How could you not? They're pillars. After product, the next pillar is awareness. Awareness is where you have to get people to become aware of your product, because if you just sit back and wait for it to happen, let me tell you, it won't. This is where forms of marketing come into play. The first and easiest way to market a product is grassroots marketing. Grassroots marketing is a strategy based on targeting a high niche audience to amplify your brand organically to a larger audience and then growing the brand's visibility, basically. Forms of grassroots marketing include getting influencers / friends to wear the shirts, putting posters or signs up, telling people the brand, and basically any way to get the word out organically. Instagram. To create awareness, I did a number of things. First, I created a social media presence by creating an Instagram page. This seems to be a good time to do a little plug. Go follow BizzR Threads on Instagram. Trust me, it will make you a happier person. Anyway, I posted all of my designs on there and stuff. Yeah. The next thing I did to build awareness around BizzR was influencers. Influencers are people who advertise the shirts for me while wearing them. I gave a couple of free shirts away, as shown here. Ben got a Still Want to Swim. Alex got a Board the Moon. I didn't get a picture of him, sorry Alex. And Adam got a Board the Moon. Also Charlotte, Kate, and Stephanie also got some free shirts. Hopefully all these people did some advertising while looking cool while wearing BizzR. which of course happens naturally. Website. The next thing I did was make a website on GoDaddy. I bought a domain name for BizzR called bizzr.ca for $12 a year. This website includes some writing about my business, that's just the title page, some writing about my business, a way of my designs, and a way of contacting BizzR. In the future, I want to open an online shop. Finally, I printed my designs on paper and made a display at IPS to create awareness and generate sales. All right, back to the pillars. Third pillar, sales. Two ways that I tried to sell my shirts were third-party sales, which is selling your shirts through another business, and DTC, direct-to-consumer, which is skipping that third party, like buying the shirts on an online shop or from the manufacturer. The Village Baker. I created a pop-up shop at the Village Baker, which is a form of third-party sales. I made these frames and hung them on the wall. I did this to create awareness and generate sales. However, the Village Baker did not want to be involved with handing the shirts out and selling them, so I couldn't actually have my shirts in there. Instead, I opened, you can email your order through email. However, this turned out to be a mad fail, for the sole reason that no one wants to go through the process of choosing the design, the color, the size, and ordering it through email, and then waiting a couple days to actually get it. The only time someone would do this would be for Lego. To this day, I've still yet to get a sale from the Village Baker, which pains me to say it, while going deeper into my debt for having my shirts there. I wanted to make some sales at school, so I printed some designs on regular shirts and thought it would be a good idea to veer away from the full cotton thing because of the environment. So I went to Salvation Army and bought $77 worth of secondhand blank shirts. I thought this would be a cool custom line to do and sell them for a reduced price because they are secondhand. I printed 11 of them and ended up selling 11 of them at school. Or no, never mind. All right. Also, I went to Grouse because I wanted to have my skiing shirts and snowboarding shirts in there. And I talked to the guy, but he told me to email to get to their manager. I emailed them and never got a response. More IPS sales. I then started to promote them more at school and ended up getting 16 more orders for new heavy cotton shirts that I was selling for 25 bucks a piece. Half the orders were ski the moon, 6 were still want to swim, and the other 2 were aboard the moon. Everything seemed like it was going great. I had orders, I was going to try and get my shirts in a long weekend market, and I was about to put actual shirts in the Village Baker using these folders I made. Until the worst possible thing happened. The printer broke. Broken printer. These DTG printers are a pain, let me tell you. You have to pretty much use them daily. You have to keep them in a certain humidity, not too hot, not too cold. You have to do the daily maintenance on them, which is daily, of course. And there's a bunch of other things that could just go wrong with them. So after trying to fix it, I came to the conclusion that I had to order new print heads. There goes another 600 bucks and 2 weeks waiting them for arrive. 2 weeks later brings us to May. The print heads have arrived. After installing them, the printer still doesn't work. After doing some research and talking to the guy who works for Focus, the brand of my printer, I found out that I have to send the board to China. There goes another $300 for shipping and another month of waiting. However, I wasn't just going to sit back and let my new print heads clog. So I sent them to another company to print them for me. This printing company uses DTF technologies to print the shirts. You send them the designs, they print it on a transfer, then they send them back to you and you heat press them onto a shirt. I thought sending them to the company would cost more money than printing it myself. You might be wondering, how much does it cost to print one shirt? Cost for printing. For my printer to print one shirt, it costs $4 for a heavy cotton shirt at Michael's, $2 for ink and pre-treatment, $6.25 of my labor if you charge yourself at 25 bucks an hour, because it takes 15 minutes to make one shirt, and that comes to $12.25 with the $12.75 profit. Cost of printing at the company, $4 for the shirt, $2 worth of labor, 5 minutes of time, and $4.68 for them to print it onto the transfer, which is $10.68 total and more profit, which is really annoying because I spent a lot of money on that printer until just realizing that it's cheaper to print them from a company. Not a good business move. Future preparations. Now that I've brought you up to speed on everything I've done so far this year, what's next, Leo? Once I get the printer up and running again, I plan on many things in the summer. I want to sell my shirts at the farmer's market, have pop-up stands down by the ferry for all the tourists coming over, and get my shirts sold in many more stores on Bowen, and get my online shop up and running on my website, and make a new launch of designs. Some ideas that were in my product development but didn't quite make the initial launch were a Bowen artist shirt, which would be taking the paintings from artists on Bowen and making them into a shirt. Artists like Art by Dye, who has some cool paintings, and my grandma, which would have shows the scenery of Bowen, and that could be a really great shirt. Another idea was the Bowen Island business shirt. This shirt would be making personal designs for other businesses on Bowen. Maybe they will want me to make them a design or print them a shirt. They could just buy the design, really anything. Regrets? I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. Thank yous. Thank you. Thank you to my advisor, Woody, for teaching me all about the business side of things, from learning about marketing, the product development plan, and the 3 pillars. Also, thank you to Woody for coming up with the Bowen vintage shirt idea, and a bunch of other ideas that I'll be making sure to do in the future. Thank you to Jen for keeping me focused and looking over all my stuff and editing it, and for being a proud supporter of BizzR Threads. Thank you to Leighton Woodworth for, without you, I'd have never met your dad, so thank you, Leighton. I'm just gonna say, without you, this project would have gone nowhere. Thank you to everyone who bought a shirt at school, especially you, Adam, because you're probably the most die-hard wearer of BizzR Threads, bringing it to Quebec, foraging, you know. So thank you, Adam. Thanks to my big bro for promoting the shirts around West Van and for giving me ideas about the designs. Thank you to my grandparents for promoting the shirts around your building and all the way over in England, believe it or not. But the biggest thank you by far has got to go to my parents. Thank you to my parents. Thank you to Amanda Szabo for not only being my advisor, but my mom. That means she had double the amount of duty. She had to be at all my meetings with my advisor. She had to edit all my documents, which is not an easy task when you're editing my writing. She had to keep me on task at school, and thank you for being the official product manager of BizzR Threads. I gave her this title because whenever I was unsure about something I was doing in the design, I would ask my mom first, and she would see what she thought about it. Yeah. And finally, last but very not least, thank you to my dad. Thank you to my dad for teaching me how to use Photoshop, for driving me out to get the printer, for helping me fix the printer. If I needed help in Photoshop, he would always help me. Thank you for always coming up with good ideas to add to designs, even if I didn't always agree with them. Thank you for helping me order the things needed for the printer. The list really goes on. I could keep saying thank you to my parents for a long time. But thank you to both my parents for supplying me the money I needed for this. I'll pay that back soon. I'm never gonna pay that back. Don't tell them I said that. Just when you thought I was done, I'm back. The next launch of BizzR has already started. I've made one new design. You can go buy it at the NBC if you want, along with another shirts, the Rails of Saturn. Yeah. Now I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Szabo. I have always been very surprised by your designs, partially maybe because of the location of some of them. The kitchen counter, the doors in our house, the back of my car. No paper, no problem. The other reason I'm always surprised by your designs is because when you show them to me, I never expect what I'm going to see because they're original, highly original, unusual, and super cool. So to be your product manager is a huge honor. Thank you. My question is the regrets, the few regrets you have. I want to hear a regret.
All right, well, the biggest regret is buying the printer. Well, my mom suggested that I shouldn't buy the printer, but I was keen to buy it, and my dad was also keen to buy the printer. So I bought it, and now I'm in a big debt, which is, I don't know, it wasn't smart because, like, it's cheaper to get the company printed, but it doesn't feel as good from the company than my printer. And the colors, well, the colors are actually better, but I don't know, that's a big regret, buying the printer.
But what were the reasons why you wanted to buy the printer?
Because having the printer, you can just print whenever you want, which is nice. You can print like one-off shirts. If someone wants a shirt printed quickly, you can just print that really quickly, which is nice. So, yeah.
The second question I have is, you mentioned that 80% of people buy buy black and white, and you said I'll talk more about that. And what did you find out about color?
I found out that most people want either black, white, or navy. So those are the three. And I want to buy my shirts wholesale in the future to cut down on those costs. And I'll probably buy a bunch of black, white, navy, and then like a couple colored shirts, not as many. Yeah.
Woody, do you have a question?
A couple. One, I just want to say I appreciate this guy, his passion and enthusiasm for this. It was awesome. It's like curiosity just to get into understand the business. Super impressive. And I'd say I just want to rebrand. Regrets, I think, were learnings. No one has regrets in the business. You have a lot of learnings on what not to do and what to do. So I think that was fantastic. And for me, I'm just interested in some more of your DTC opportunities besides your website. What else do you see as ways to go direct to consumer?
Well, direct to consumer. I'd probably, well, if I were to ever open up a shop in the future, which that would be cool, having our own BizzR shop, that would be the direct to consumer. But right now, let's see, well, the online shop and what's another way? I don't really. I gotta think about that one.
Do more pop-ups.
Yeah, right. I forgot about that. Yeah, pop-ups.
I also just want to say, my advisorship, I'm not ending it right now. So I mean, I think we're together for the long run. So I just want to continue that journey.
All right, thanks, Woody.
So will Lululemon be?
This guy might be the next Lululemon right here.
Leo, Mr. Szabo, that was an incredible presentation, a lot of work. And not only was there technical work with figuring out how your printer was going to actually work, but also all of your art. Did it take on a different field? I know you're really excited about your art. How did it evolve through the year? Think of what your first idea is in September, and maybe where your focus changed.
Well, I thought I was gonna. I wanted to do something about drawing when I chose the topic, and I thought this would be a lot about drawing, but I only drew a couple of designs, so it wasn't really focused on drawing all that much. It was more focused on, I don't know, business really, and like Photoshop. Most of the designs, lots of them I made in Photoshop too. So it kind of shifted from drawing more to an actual business really.
Your artwork in the beginning and what it is, has it changed when you've done some research into sort of like the vintage posters and that kind of art, or has your art in its essence stayed the same?
My general art is, yeah, it stayed the same. It hasn't really changed from the other designs. So,
yeah. Come on up, Leighton, over to here if you can.
Great presentation, Mr. Szabo.
Thank you.
2 questions. One, if your business didn't launch off, and you made a lot of money, and you got out of debt with your parents, of course, what would you spend that on? Would you invest it back into your business, or what would you get?
I would buy a lot of Lego. Yeah. Lego. Maybe I'd invest it if I was smart, but that doesn't really sound like something I would do. Yeah, I just buy a bunch of stuff, really.
Okay. Second question. Can I join your business?
We'll talk about that.
Ask what attributes
Yeah, what do you bring to the table, Mr. Anderson?
Mr. Tshirt, come on.
Great presentation, Mr. Szabo. I'm wondering if, as your business expands and you do all the designs by hand, do you see that becoming tedious, or are you going to hire new people to design with you?
Well, I see that's the funnest part for me, which is making the designs. So I wouldn't really want other people to make the designs. I would probably just want to do it myself. So that's the funnest part. Yeah.
Ryder, come on.
Great presentation. Would you ever think of making hoodies?
Hoodies, yes, definitely. My printer is not really good on printing more thick materials. It kind of interferes with it, and it doesn't. It's kind of thicker material, so it doesn't stick on as less durable. But yeah, definitely in the future, hoodies.
Mr. Gallup, come on.
Mr. Szabo, excellent work. Can you tell me a little bit more about the pop-up shop that you're having in a couple of minutes?
That's a great question, Mr. Youd. You can go buy a shirt for $25 a piece at the pop shop. All the designs except for the Blue Moon. I forgot to print that one. But yeah, you should definitely go. Feel free.
Kabir, come on.
Do you see yourself doing this in like 10 years?
100%, yeah. This is kind of the ideal thing for me. I haven't really thought about what I want to do in the future, but this is really great, yeah. Just making designs and having a business is perfect, yeah.
Lots of questions, but before I get to them, everyone is wearing a BizzR thread shirt. Stand up. There's a lot of cheerleaders. Nice. And what I love about this one, it doesn't look like good to use dress, but what I love about this one is it's one of your Sally Ann upcycled shirts. Can you talk a little bit about, I don't know, the environmental value, the economic value, the niche that some people might be more drawn to this
Yeah.
thing?
So I think the Salvation line that I did was really cool because it brings people, it gives them a better reason to buy a shirt because it's helping the environment. It's also, it was cheaper to buy those shirts too, but like it would be hard to do a business just with secondhand shirts because there's limited resources, but yeah, it's definitely a cool limited edition thing to do, and I would like to do more of that, yeah.
And I guess this is the benefit of having your own machine
Yeah.
or printer is that then you can do whichever shirt you have.
Yeah, that's,
Roland?
Great presentation, Mr. Szabo. If you were to decide, what would you say your favorite design for the t-shirt is?
definitely Ski the Moon probably, or the Rails of Saturn is kind of coming up there on Ski the Moon, but yeah, Ski the Moon.
Do you have the Rails of Saturn?
I do, yeah, I have 3 of them, limited edition.
Sorry.
Beautiful, beautiful art, Mr. Szabo. But have you considered any partnerships with other groups, such as you make the designs and they make the materials or shirts?
Well, I was actually talking to the owner of the Real Rapunzel in Artisan, and she wanted me to make a design just for the Real Rapunzel, like an exclusive shirt for them. So I'd like to do stuff like that with other businesses. Yeah.
Have you contacted any Bowen artists?
Not yet, no.
Sheila, come on.
That was a very fantastic presentation, Mr. Szabo. Your artwork never ceases to amaze. But the one thing that's always stuck by me, and I've always admired, is one of a kind, very uniquely owned by your mother, are the shoes that you made for her. That was handmade, and I'm sure it was made with a lot of insight because it was very, very detailed. Is that something you're looking to expand in?
Well, it was just kind of something for fun for Mother's Day. I wouldn't like making shoes.
No, like customizing.
Oh, customizing?
Yeah.
I'm sure, yeah. Yeah, I would like to do more of that.
Maybe only Crocs.
Only Crocs, of course.
Brian, come on
I do think it's a great top of pyramid advising me on this.
Yeah.
I think it's a great top of pyramid item to get some enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Just like frenzy for the brand.
Mr. Szabo, I hope you learned a really important business lesson in all this, because it's really interesting to watch that. And that is, when it comes to printers, your mom is always right. Moms are always right. Everything. I want you to keep my order to a ski to moon.
All right.
But serious question, would you be interested in coming back next year? And I'm not sure yet, running a workshop or doing something with the students at the school? Because I think you have, not only the artistic part, but I think what's so important in the arts is that artists also have to learn to run a business. Because you need money to fund your art. And I think you would bring something to that the whole school would really benefit from. So I'd love to get your business card and talk about bringing you back here next year.
Yeah, sure, I'd like to do that, yeah.
All right.
Mr. Szabo, excellent presentation. I have one question. It's in your website of the BizzR brand. Have you encountered any bugs of like ordering and shipping the things?
No, I have no bugs on the website. I just made it on GoDaddy, so it was pretty easy to do because it was like pretty much made for me. I just had to put some images in, but no bugs, no.
Mr. Szabo, have you got any orders to your website?
No.
You can report back to us on bugs.
That could be a bug.
Where do you see yourself see your business again?
End of the year? Well, in the summer, I really want to try to pay off that debt. So pop-up shops, I'm looking to make more designs, so I'm hoping lots more designs, lots more sales, yeah.
Ms. Ryan?
Nice job, Mr. Szabo. I'm wondering, how are you planning to advertise your brand?
Advertise? Well, through the friends wearing my shirts. That was good. Hopefully they told lots of people about that. I want to, well, pop-up shops kind of doubles as sales and advertising because if someone sees it, they become more aware of it. And if they keep seeing it around, keep seeing pop-up shops, then they'll be more inclined to buy something. Instagram is good for advertising. And yeah, I want to get my shirts in more stores on Bone, which is kind of, again, doubles as advertising and sales. Yeah.
Melanie, you have a question?
That was awesome presentation. Mr. Szabo, did I say that right?
Yeah.
I have two questions. One, and I think something I've asked already, expanding product line to stickers and postcards and so on. And have you looked into Etsy?
Which?
Etsy.
Etsy? I'm not sure what that is, but.
It is a store for like artists, crafters, it's all over the world. That's an excellent place for your product to be viewed by many, many people.
That's cool.
And if you choose to work with Etsy, have you looked into the cost of shipping?
Well, back to the stickers, definitely I would want to do things like mugs, stickers, all that kind of thing. It's good because some people don't want to buy a shirt for all that money. They want something smaller, less money, and that's cool. Shipping, I have not thought about shipping yet, but it can't be free, of course.
Scott, go ahead.
I'm curious, Mr. Szabo, how you came up with the price point of $25. I did see the math there. It looked like you were sort of, that was twice as much as your cost. But I imagine that's part of what you need to do as a businessman is think about price point. Was there some consideration you did to come to 25 or?
Yeah, there was. Well, I started with 30, and there was a bit of an outrage about that. Which I see now it's not Gucci or anything, but yeah. So then I dropped it to 25. I think 20 is a bit low because that's only like, with my printer, $8 a profit. I want to make a bit more than that. So I kind of just thought personally, what do I want to make off of this and not be too expensive.
I'm curious if you asked Woody what Lululemon gets, like what's their, profit margin.
He did tell me about that, but I don't know if I should spill the number.
I think you're safe.
I don't actually remember.
Yeah, but you want to gauge to a market, right? You
Yeah.
want to somehow. Yeah.
Lower, come on. Lower, up, here, please. To the mic.
Do you think you'll be making like a store in the future, like an actual store?
A real store? All right. Yeah, in the future, definitely. Not around this time because that would just put me more into my debt. But in the future, if it's getting bigger and bigger, yeah, definitely.
Come on, baby.
God, Mr. Szabo, that was a great presentation. Do you plan on doing business like off of Bowen and like what you think?
Yeah, I talked to Grouse Mountain. I wanna try and get my shirts in stores off of Bowen too, and maybe do pop-up shops like downtown or something, lots more people. Yeah.
Julian, last question.
Great presentation, Mr. Szabo, and I love the shirts, by the way. So, in high school, do you plan on doing the same thing you're doing at IPS?
Yeah, I do. Sell shirts, yeah, keep it going, definitely.